Senator Elizabeth Warren and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, asking Circle, BlockFi, a bunch of other fintech firms, what's the deal with Silicon Valley Bank? What's all this special treatment that y'all were getting? What about these fancy dinners, these, quote, industry ski trips, this, quote, mutual back-scratching dynamic that was going on between SVB, VCs, and fintech firms? Some prodding, some asking of questions. I don't know. Maybe a bit of grandstanding as well in there. But certainly it's all there in the letter that was sent to some crypto firms and some fintech firms on Sunday, I believe. And there it is. They want answers. I don't know, Will. What do you read? What's your read on this one?
It's kind of funny they bring up all the parties that happen in crypto because that's sort of true, right? Like every company kind of gets tied up in that. To be fair, though, Elizabeth Warren has made a lot of money being in her position as well. So there's been some recent stuff on Twitter about that, but her paycheck versus her assets on hand that are disclosed because she's a senator. So, a little bit ironic here. That being said, let's dive into the meat of this whole story. SVB was obviously banking a lot of different firms in the tech circles, including Circle and BlockFi. They were unsecured depositors at those institutions. Luckily, the Fed and FDIC was able to backstop all those banks. And so neither one really suffered any losses. They just suffered maybe some PR losses during those unfortunate weeks, a few weeks back. The biggest thing here was Circle, right? That $3.3 billion stuck in SVB for a few hours. And there was concerns about will USDC, the stablecoin, explode? And what does that look like? And now AOC and Senator Elizabeth Warren are looking into this and saying why were you guys banking with SVB in the first place? And what was the relationship here? I don't know if anything is going to come out of this that's super fruitful. I think that at the bottom line here, SVB had some poorly managed assets, and that caused the bank run. I don't think a ski vacation or some a little spending here on the side was going to cause the downfall of this. Maybe the leadership at SVB was not focused on the goals and tasks of the bank, and that's why it collapsed. But I don't really see what they're going after here, except for maybe a headline. Jen, I'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, in the letter to Jeremy Allaire, the senator said that the bank didn't function like a normal bank. It catered almost entirely to the tech industry. And I don't know a lot about banks, so maybe you guys can help me out here. Are banks supposed to diversify the customers that they cater to? And also, if there was a run on the bank at any other bank, let's just keep it to North America, wouldn't this happen? So when I'm reading their letter and reading all of the facts that they point to, I just feel like this could be applied to any bank. And now that the bank has collapsed is when they're asking the questions. I feel like if they actually cared about a lot of the things that they're bringing up, they would be asking these questions, throughout normal banking operations, and they wouldn't wait for a run on the bank to now say was the business you're running actually being run properly? I don't know, Zach, if you can explain to me why this is different than maybe some other banks.
Well, politics is just engagement farming. Am I right? I mean, you can't be asking those questions when no one cares about the questions. When people care about the questions, that's when you get the engagement. So that's what we see in politics, as we do on social media and influencers worldwide. That was an extremely sort of cynical take, so excuse me. But it does appear to be true in this instance. Silicon Valley Bank perhaps has the worst name in all of history, right? It's easy to take shots at Silicon Valley, especially from prominent members of the Democratic Party. And I think they're trying to score some political points here. They're trying to paint these big, rich, fancy tech people who are getting a bailout from the FDIC and the federal government as being somewhat wrong and ultimately in need of reform. And I think this is something that serves that end goal. Whether it will be effective is an entirely different question. I'm also really interested to see what the responses are from these companies are. It notes in the story that the deadline is April 24th. That's their due date to fire some stuff back. Going to be interesting to see what, if anything, gets submitted on that day to see what their side of the story is. But hey, I don't know. Will, what do you think?
Yeah, final thoughts from me. I don't have the asset sheet in front of me of different people who are banked at SVB, but my understanding was it was not only Silicon Valley companies are banking there, but there was a lot of wine country. Northern California was banked there. A lot of small businesses in Southern California or Northern California area were banked there. So it wasn't just them. That being said, to Zach's point, right, this is a great headline for AOC and Elizabeth Warren, both who have sort of made cases for themselves for going after largesse and overspending within the banking sector and calling for more regulation of these two things. And it's very easy for them to look at this and be like, this bank failed, this bank had these customers, and these customers love to go on ski trips with the banking executives. If that's bad or not, that's your decision. I mean, that's what the bank spent money on. It was a public company. Those financials were disclosed publicly. So if you didn't want to buy the share, you didn't have to. But now that's exploded, it's a great opportunity to take some pot shots from anyone who's in the political circles. Zach, give it to you as we close.
Hey, full disclosure, CoinDesk was a Silicon Valley Bank customer. And full disclosure, I never got a ski trip. Where's my fancy dinner? I never got a letter. I want to make my
I didn't get any of these perks.
What the hell? I worked for CoinDesk for all these years and we never got any perks. Terrible.